Welcome to the Sunday Magazine. I'm Jim McLaren. This week, I'm standing on the third floor of the Triangle Point building in Tigard. It's home to Clear Channel Media and Entertainment, and I'm looking out on a changing world, one that includes this.
This is the dairy area as well as some of the retail grocery. So as you see, we've kind of repurposed old furniture that we have been finding at antique malls and stuff like that and kind of turn it into more of our showcase pieces.
Megan Bruning at the brand new, yes, the doors just opened, Local Choice Market. It's in Portland's Pearl District.
Now these beams were found down, they're just old growth timbers that were down in the parking garage that were dumped. They weren't being used for anything, so we planed them down and stained them and turned them into bars, and they're probably one of our favorite things.
Getting a tour of that store got me to thinking about that changing world thing I mentioned a moment ago. So as I stand here watching the sun set on the other side of the Coast Range, I got to thinking about a big word, sustainability. And I needed someone to tell me what that is. So before we go marketing, let's go to the Institute for Sustainable Solutions at Portland State University and talk to Allison Dennis, Executive Director of the Center for Global Leadership in Sustainability. I'm told she knows about sustainable business models and brands. So what is sustainability?
When I hear that word, one of the first places I think about is sustainability in terms of long-term planning and how me as an individual or me as part of a family, a community, or a workplace is looking actively at what I value now, what resources I need to sustain things that are important to me and my life or my work now, and how I'm thinking both through my own individual choices and through the collectives of people that I work with about strategically how to think and plan for the long term so that the things that are important to me sustain into the future.
Sustainability is about limits?
I think there's some, I'd say yes, and I think there's some real truth to that. We don't have unlimited resources here in Portland or here on the planet, and so I think the best long-term thinkers and strategists are able to both really understand what are the constraints that we're working within today, how will those constraints play out over time, but then how do we leverage human innovation, human creativity to work constructively within those constraints to design the future we desire. So I think both pieces are true, both the truth of constraints as well as the capacity for us as people to dream big from constraints.
It's not about limits as much as it is about knowing how to make the most of an urban environment.
Exactly. And so of all the choices we could make, which ones are not only going to satisfy us and our needs in the short term, but are going to help us sustain as a community, as individuals, as families, as businesses for the long term? How do we sustain for the long term over time?
Allison Dennis at PSU, how do you take the theory of sustainable and put it on the ground, make it work?
Yeah, I think one of the first steps I take as an individual, or I see businesses taking in our business community here, is really getting clear about prioritizing what is the most important to me and my lifestyle, or me and the business I contribute to and the product or service we provide, which resources are we the most dependent on, and really prioritizing what's the most important first, taking a first look at things that are the most central to our values, or within a business context, the product or service we provide.
Using what we have in the best possible way. For instance, Portland's ban on plastic bags in favor of reusable bags.
I think that's one part of it. I think an interesting aspect of, I'm actually really interested in the bag ban, maybe for some other reasons than the question you're asking. One thing that's interesting to me about the shopping bags is that they're an item that we all interface with as individuals. So I think one reason an issue like that gets as much attention as it does is because it's a very practical part of all of our lives. Whether we run any sort of business and are selling products, we use bags. All of us as consumers touch and interface with bags in our lives. So I'm really interested in issues like that, where we as an entire society and community get to look creatively together as we learn more about which choices will sustain us better into the future, how we want to solve those challenges together. I really love issues like the bag ban to involve everyone.
Sitting next to Allison at this interview is Fletcher Bedoin. He rode his bike to work on a near-freezing January morning. He specializes in urban planning and sees Portland taking the lead in sustainability.
I think there's a few reasons, but to go back to what Allison was saying about part of sustainability is also setting really clear goals for where we want to go that are tied to our culture. It's tied to the ethic of your place. And in Portland, I think increasingly we've had weirdness, or we've had people that are kind of thinking on the fringe somewhat. And I think that's reflected in our politics sometimes, and it can cause us to sometimes go out on a limb and do something that is maybe too risky and maybe we shouldn't be doing. And sometimes it causes us to do that, and it's the correct direction to take. And I would argue that Portland was one of the leaders when it came to climate action and writing a plan that prioritizes specific actions that the city should be taking with regards to climate change. They did it in the mid-'90s before any other cities were doing it, and right now you go to almost every major metropolitan area and they have a climate action plan. And it was something that Portland really went out and took a stand, and now they've had many iterations and been able to really link that plan with things like the Portland plan and broader goals that the city is making, and just made it a part of who we are, and made it connected to different things where it's not just about carbon emissions, but we're able to communicate also in terms of getting people out of their cars and more people biking and active transportation, and it doesn't just become about just about carbon, but we're connected to the things that that people really care about and can understand as well.
Another reason I think Portland's been really successful in those efforts is they've done a great job of inviting the business sector to be an active player in those dialogues and in those planning processes. As a business practitioner, I've had countless opportunities to be there right at the table, kind of representing a business perspective and a business voice as Portland plans for the future.
One of the other parts of this I've heard about in recent months, eco-districts. What are those?
Simply speaking, it's a neighborhood or district that is committed to achieving aggressive sustainability goals, such as water conservation or major goals around water conservation, energy use, waste management or materials management. That's the most simple term. And another way of looking at it is that the city of Portland and businesses in Portland have gotten really good at green buildings. So figuring out how a building itself can become more sustainable. It can use less energy, have better indoor air quality, have better connection to transit. We've become really good at it, and actually our firms locally are getting jobs and nationally and internationally, doing green building in other places and deploying their architecture or development expertise. And I think Portland got to the point where we were really thinking about what's next, and also what can't we do just in a building, and what do we need multiple buildings or collections of buildings to do. And eco-districts is also looking at, are there economies of scale for connecting multiple buildings? So are there certain energy systems that make more sense and actually are more cost-effective and potentially environmentally friendly that can occur at a multiple building scale? But looking at both the engineering pieces, so the hardware, and also the software, because there's certain, which are the people. So there's certain things that we might be able to achieve more effectively with our hardware across multiple buildings. But really at a fundamental level, it's about the people that are connected to those systems and that are in the communities that could help foster certain practices that can advance sustainability within those districts. And so one thing, there's 5 pilot eco-districts in Portland, and one thing that is at the base of all of them is a really strong steering committee, which is setting priorities and helping make sure that any of the goals being set around sustainability are connected to what the people in those districts want and feel is important.
Sort of like eco-neighborhoods.
Yeah, eco-neighborhoods. Eco-district, yeah, it might be more jargon, but it's just a neighborhood committed to sustainability.
Portland is, of course, at the heart of a larger metro area. In fact, most of the area's population lives outside Portland. So can these ideas be transferred to suburbs and smaller cities?
I think one aspect of good ecosystem design is really looking at to your question, really looking at what are the environmental features and both natural and constructed of the region we're designing within, the community we're designing within, and taking those into direct consideration, not just plopping down a model for an eco-district without consideration to those factors that make any given place unique.
Yeah, I think whatever an eco-district is for a community, it has to come with from that community, and it's not something that can be top down necessarily, or else I think it will fail, at least in the long run.
Sustainability, by the way, is about more than green living. There is, Fletcher Bedoin, a social aspect to it.
I think there is a huge social aspect to it. I think one thing about sustainability is that some people use it as just another word for environmentalism, and that's something we need to shift away, or we need to be better at communicating that it is really a shift away from that, and it's looking to make decisions that involve society, the economy, and the environment. And right now we're not incredibly good at making decisions with all three of those factors on the table at the same time. And so I think thinking about the social implications of the decisions we're making, along with economic and environmental, is absolutely vital. And that's, I would say, something very core to what sustainability is.
Within a business context, some of the social aspects would be anything from a company looking at how it is taking the best care it possibly can of its employee base in order to retain talent for the long time, grow its talent base, attract top talent, to looking at the relationships between the company and the customer base it serves, being a good corporate citizen in ways that grow reputation for the brand and build deep and lasting loyalty between the company and the community it's attempting to serve.
Now, paying for these things, a big concern. It can't be done by government alone, and in Portland, it's not. Look at how buildings are being built and what companies are doing and promoting to sell their brands.
Within a business perspective, I think while it may be possible for businesses in the short term to make money and grow their wealth, making business decisions regardless of environmental or social impacts, over the long term, the companies that are strategically best positioned to sustain for the long run over time are those that are doing business in ways that consider their environmental capital, their access to the resources they need to run their businesses over the long time, as well as their social capital, the relationships they're building, the trust they're earning with customers both locally and around the world.
In other words, as they always have, they're being good corporate neighbors.
So I would first say that I don't think being a good corporate citizen is a new idea. I think that's an old, tried and true idea. Being a good corporate neighbor within your community, keeping dollars and investments within local economies, building strong relationships so that in times of need, people will come and rally together and support each other. I think those are traditional business approaches and business values. I think what we're seeing today is an evolution of what it means to be a good corporate citizen. So perhaps before, just to take one example, that might have meant maintaining, being a good corporate citizen might have included something like keeping the landscape around your business property looking beautiful to contribute to your community in that way. Today, a more contemporary version of that might be not only maintaining your property, but also doing that in ways that use less water. So here in Portland, we do a lot of things like upgrading our landscaping to include drought-resistant plants or plants that need less water to support. So just how old ideas are evolving over time based on the changing environment that we work and live in.
Seems kind of odd to have a drought-resistant plant.
At least right now. Yeah.
And yet you'd be surprised when we do business studies of corporate use of water. One of the biggest pieces of that pie for most businesses frequently turns out to be landscaping. So that's a great opportunity both for individuals and homeowners as well as property owners and business owners to look at in terms of a basic way they can use less water to plan for the future.
Examples of sustainable success. First one from Fletcher, then from Allison.
Well, actually, so I'm actually a home brewer, as well as I work on sustainability, and I got invited to beer camp at Sierra Nevada Brewery in Chico, California, 2 weeks ago. And they're a company that's been around since 1980, and they're wildly successful. They're opening a new brewery up in Asheville, or I think it's Asheville, in North Carolina right now, where they're doubling their capacity. And so brew camp or beer camp is you go there and you learn about the culture of Sierra Nevada and you brew some beer. But one thing that was so striking to me when they were telling us the story is about their commitment to sustainability over time and how it has caused them to innovate in ways they probably never would have, save money in ways they probably would have never found, and also build a brand that is really powerful. And for example, they've been able to dramatically shift the amount of water they use to clean their kegs over time and just slowly ratchet that down, and that's just saving them tons of money. They're able to figure out new ways to manage the wastewater from the brew effluent, and they thought you could send to the city and it costs a certain amount. They decided to build their own facility. It saves over time tremendous amounts of money, and it saves the city actually a lot of money as well because they don't have to build new capacity because Sierra Nevada's got so much. Such a huge place. They've installed a tremendous amount of solar panels, energy efficiency. It's just across the board. It's a part of their story. And they brew fantastic beer that consumers buy and love. And so I was really struck by that because it was just such a dramatic example of how a company, since really they began in 1980, has adhered to thinking about people, the environment, and the economy all at the same time, and done incredibly well.
Our local sustainable beer and wine industries are great examples and thriving. Fletcher mentioned earlier the green building industry here. Many companies both providing those services now, not only at a small scale local level, but increasingly providing expertise across the country and around the world. Lots of other great examples, small to mid-sized and growing businesses in the sustainable food sector here in Portland, from grocery stores to restaurants focusing on fresh ingredients or healthy choices. And another great industry is the apparel industry. We have everything from small startups looking at how to make apparel from reclaimed and salvaged materials to large apparel companies working collaboratively across the industry to create new materials of the future and new products of the future, where we'll increasingly need less new materials to make them, and more of our future clothing can be made from recycled old products.
One perspective, I think we've, as Allison said, Portland has been very good about trying to get multi-sector buy-in for local initiatives and getting people's opinions about how we're moving forward as a city. I think increasingly we need to be thinking not just about buy-in, but about true synergistic collaboration across sectors, where there is agreed upon goals and clearly stated roles and responsibilities for key stakeholders in different sectors to advance key causes. I think we can become better and better about how we build our partnerships and our collective goals as a city. And I actually think that that's something that needs to happen more broadly nationally, is that there needs to be a tighter collaboration and process of goal setting across the sectors. And it's a really messy process sometimes, but I think when we're talking about some of these long-term goals around sustainability, or just around Portland and how we want to grow our city, we need to be thinking differently about how we're linking across our sectors.
As the sustainable business movement grows and mainstreams, at Portland State, we're attracting a new kind of student to the business school, students who see an urgent need for business to play a role in solving our region's and our world's most pressing problems, students who see themselves as future agents of that change and who are choosing to be in Portland and to study in Portland for more than business as usual. So I forecast this next generation of business leaders to lead the charge in having business be able to not only look at its the financial results it produces, but to also steward the environmental and social results.
Talking to Allison Dennis and Fletcher Bedoin at PSU's Institute for Sustainable Solutions. Interesting stuff, but there's nothing that can't benefit from a snack. So, back to the local choice market at Northwest 9th and Everett.
So this is our wine and beer bar. Now we have it set up into two different stations. So this is more of the retail side of things. And we'll have a small table set up in the middle where we can actually do some wine tastings as well. We have 4 local beers on tap as well as 4 local wines on tap. We're in no way saying that we know everything, so we're always looking for feedback from customers or shoppers or anybody that has a favorite beer or favorite wine. We're always interested in finding more.
The market is the brainchild of Don Sater and his wife, George Ann. I talked with Don, who, first thing, impressed on me, this is not a store, it is a market.
It's a market, first of all, and that's a good point. Let me explain. Our belief is that people go to a store because they have to. They go to a market because they want to. When you stop by the store, you have a list, and you're getting things. Do you purposely go and hang out at Fred Meyer or Safeway or somewhere because, hey, let's go on a little camp, let's go there? No. You go there because you need bread, eggs, milk, whatever, right? But a market is more of an experience where you go because you want to go there.
This is, as Don says, a local market. But that does require a definition, since you can't get everything a market needs from Oregon and Washington.
We are local choice. What that means is, if you start at the top of the kind of the food chain, our number one priority is to get foods as close and as local as they can be. If we could grow everything on the roof of our market and sell it here, we would. So we believe the more natural state it's in, unprocessed natural foods, and as close as possible, that's the best we can get. So that's where we start. That's our priority. But some foods, I'll take as an example, bananas. We don't do too well growing bananas here in Portland, but yet most people like to eat bananas or drink coffee. So we have those things, but only under one condition. We only source them from a local supplier. The supplier has to be headquartered here with at least 50% of their workforce here. So we make exceptions like bananas and coffee for that reason. But those are exceptions. We expend every reasonable effort to find locally sourced foods. We get flour from the Willamette Valley. We get sea salt from the Oregon coast. We try to get everything possible from here.
Is it a specialty market then?
No, we think it's a real foods market. In fact, it's interesting you bring that up because we've been working on this for about a year. And when we first came up with the idea, we were living in Italy. I retired from another business, and we were there for a couple of years. And their markets are very, very common. People, for the most part, are eating the way they have for thousands of years. Nothing's really changed. The line is very short and straight in most places in Italy. They catch the fish, they sell it at the market. It's that simple, right? So you eat what's in season. It's a very macrobiotic, provincial sort of diet, right? So the idea when we came back, we thought, well, there really isn't anything like this in Portland, and maybe people would respond well to this. So that's how we came up with the concept of local choice, and we hope people will respond well to it.
Why did you choose this location?
Well, we live here. We've lived in the Pearl since 2005, and it's our neighborhood, and we're close, so we can walk here, and that's the main reason why.
Do you think you'll draw from outside the Pearl?
We probably will, and I think in time we will become more of a destination location, but our primary objective is to serve our neighbors that we have right here. So that's our main focus. We don't have a parking lot. We actually took out 2 parking stalls right in front of the building to put in a bike corral. So that should send a pretty clear message that we believe in alternative forms of transportation and we're serving our local neighborhood. Obviously, if people want to come from out of the area, we welcome that. But our primary audience are our neighbors.
What was your background before? What kind of business were you in before?
Well, I started in the food business when I was 18 years old and kind of worked through different things. I've been a food broker for many years and worked in retail, wholesale. Was a food broker for about 12 years. And then as a food broker, we did a lot of events. I sold my food brokerage company and had to kind of change careers. And so events was something that I was very familiar with and liked. And so I began a career in the conference business and co-founded Event in 2003 and then sold that and retired in 2008. So I've been in food a long time, but not constantly. I've kind of had a different mix of things.
This used to be a garage.
Yeah, it did.
Has it been difficult to convert it?
That would be an understatement.
How difficult?
Well, we've been working on the project for about a year. Construction started in April of this year. The entire building had to be seismically upgraded for our occupancy, which is a very long and expensive project. But if you look around, you'll see that there's all these supports and things that were put into the building to make sure that it's seismically sufficient for the city's code. So that was the first thing we had to do. And then it's never had been any food service, so the kitchen and everything is all brand new, of course. So it was quite a project.
When did that open?
Well, that's literally the $1 million question. We hope to open very soon. We've had a few unexpected things as every new business faces. Stuff happens. We had a water leak the other day. We had a water pipe blow up and in the middle of the night, and it set us back a few days. So I can't say for sure, but we hope to be open very soon. I'd say just stay tuned and watch our website. When we're open, you will know it.
It sounds like you want to make food buying, food shopping an experience.
That's a good way to put it. Absolutely. It should be an experience. Again, if you think, as a kid, can you remember when maybe you picked strawberries or tree ripened peaches or something like that, and how that food tastes, and you probably can remember some of those experiences you had with your family as you eat certain foods. And so food is like the central point that brings everybody together. So it absolutely is an experience, and we've tried by the way the market is designed. You can see it's laid out. It's very open. There's no aisles. We want people to feel comfortable here, and the decoration, the design of the building, inside and out, it's all designed to make people feel comfortable and want to hang out.
And all local contractors doing all this work?
All local contractors, and again, from our security company to the IT company, we made conscious local choices to spend our money here.
Back on the third floor, it is interesting that as we face the 21st century, there are things we are considering that have a 19th century flavor. Small markets with local food sold by people who know you and what you like. And sustainability, where government, business, and neighbors make the best of what they have to make their town work. Thank you for listening to the Sunday Magazine. Until next Sunday, enjoy your week. I'm Jim McLaren, and this is a production of Clear Channel Communications.